What if everything you perceive as reality is not what it seems? Discover the truth behind your existence and unlock the secrets of non-duality, where you can awaken to your true self beyond the illusion of separation. This journey invites you to transcend the boundaries of ego and experience life from a perspective of oneness, where the world you see and the consciousness that perceives it are not two, but one. Are you ready to awaken from the dream? Imagine for a moment that the reality you experience, everything from the thoughts you think to the world you see around you, may not be as fixed and solid as you have always believed. What if the world in all its complexity is merely a projection of your mind, a dream that seems real but is not? The very fabric of your existence, the experience of being you, could be an illusion crafted by the mind, one that creates the sense of separation and individuality, but in truth, everything is connected, interwoven in a vast, undivided whole. At the core of this understanding is the realization that the self you identify with, the body, the thoughts, the emotions, is just a temporary expression of a deeper, more profound consciousness. The mind has become accustomed to perceiving reality through a lens of separation, me and the world, self and other, but this duality is an illusion, a story your mind tells itself, and the truth is that you are not separate from the universe, you are a reflection of it. The world is not something out there that happens to you. Rather, you are part of an interconnected system, and everything that occurs is a mirror of your own consciousness. When you begin to see the world through the lens of non-duality, you break free from the constraints of the mind's illusion of separation. You awaken to a more expansive state of awareness, where your true self is no longer bound by the ego's limited sense of identity. In this state of awareness, the divisions between self and other, mind and body, observer and observed, dissolve, revealing a unified field of consciousness. This shift in perception opens up a deeper understanding of how we shape our lives and experiences. The beliefs you hold about yourself and the world have a powerful influence on your biology and your health. Every thought, every belief, whether conscious or unconscious, sends signals to your cells and your DNA, influencing the very chemistry of your body. What if your mind, with all its patterns and beliefs, could be the key to healing, growth, and awakening to your true nature? As you begin to peel away the layers of conditioning that have shaped your sense of self, you can begin to experience life from a place of profound clarity. This journey isn't about becoming something new, it's about realizing what you've always been. It's an awakening to the truth that your essential nature is not bound by time, space, or form, but is eternal and limitless, existing beyond the dream of this physical reality. When you begin to see through the illusion of duality, you move beyond the limits of the ego and into a state of pure awareness, where the dream and the dreamer are one. This exploration is not an intellectual exercise, it's a living, breathing experience that invites you to embody this truth in every moment. When you awaken to the dreamlike nature of existence, you discover that you are not just a passive observer of life, but an active participant in the unfolding of reality itself. You are both the dreamer and the dream, co-creating the world around you with every thought, every belief, and every choice. In this state of deep awareness, you step into your true self, beyond the illusion of separation, and awaken to the infinite potential that lies within. Who are you really? Are you the person you see reflected in the mirror, the one shaped by your thoughts, your memories, your beliefs? Or is there something deeper, something beyond the self you have come to identify with? What if the essence of who you are is not the body, not the mind, and not even the sense of I that you carry with you through life, but something far more profound and expansive? From the moment you were born, you began accumulating experiences, forming beliefs, and constructing an identity based on the world around you. This identity is shaped by your family, your culture, your environment, and all the influences you have encountered. But what if this identity, the person you call you, is not the true essence of who you are? What if it's just a temporary construct, a story that you've been told to believe, a narrative that has been passed down through generations? The self, the I that you hold so dearly, is not a permanent entity but a fluid, ever-changing expression of consciousness. What if you are not the sum of your experiences, your fears, your desires, or your thoughts? What if these are merely the surface-level phenomena of an underlying, deeper reality that transcends the individual self? What if the very notion of separateness, the idea that you are you and the world is out there, is an illusion created by your mind? The mind, in its need to make sense of the world, fragments the totality of existence into discrete parts. This is you, this is me, this is that. But in reality, there is no separation, no other. All that exists is one unified, interconnected field of awareness, and the sense of individuality is merely a construct of the ego. When you begin to explore this truth, you start to see that the self you think you are is not fixed, not permanent, but is a dynamic expression of the greater whole. The body, the thoughts, the emotions, they come and go like waves on the surface of the ocean. Beneath it all, there is a deeper current of awareness that is unchanging and eternal. This awareness is your true nature. It is not bound by time, space, or form, and it is not subject to the fluctuations of the mind. It is pure consciousness aware of itself, and it is always present, even when the mind is lost in its stories and distractions. As you begin to awaken to this deeper reality, you realize that your true self is not the individual you that you have always identified with, but the consciousness in which this self arises. You are not the thoughts you think, not the emotions you feel, not the body you inhabit. You are the awareness that perceives all of these things. This awareness is not separate from the universe, but is an integral part of it. You are not merely in the world, you are the world. The boundaries between self and other dissolve, and you recognize that you are a reflection of the infinite, a wave in the vast ocean of existence. The dream of separation is the story your mind tells itself in order to navigate the world. It is not the truth of who you are. The truth is that you are not bound by the limitations of the mind, not confined to the ego's perception of reality. You are the consciousness that sees through the mind, the one who witnesses the thoughts and experiences that come and go. And when you begin to awaken to this truth, you understand that you are free from the limitations of the body, free from the constraints of the mind, free from the illusion of separation. You realize that you are both the dreamer and the dream, the observer and the observed, the infinite and the finite, all at once. This is the essence of non-duality, the recognition that there is no separation between you and the world, between consciousness and form. All is one and you are that. The illusion of being a separate, isolated individual fades away, and you come to understand that the only true reality is the oneness of existence, the consciousness that pervades all things. When you experience this truth, you are no longer confined by the limits of the mind, but are free to experience life as it truly is, a boundless, interconnected, ever-changing dance of energy and awareness.
Our thoughts are powerful. They shape the way we see the world, the way we perceive ourselves, and the way we navigate through life. But what if I told you that these thoughts, while deeply influential, are not the whole truth? What if, in many ways, the thoughts we hold so dearly and the beliefs we hold so tightly are not even ours, but rather the echoes of the past, of conditioning, of societal programming? These thoughts can sometimes lead us astray, clouding our perception of reality and causing us to become lost in the illusion of separation and limitation. We identify so strongly with these thoughts that we believe they define us. This is who we are. This is how we must be. But in truth, thoughts are transient. They come and go, constantly shifting and changing. They are not the solid, permanent foundation we often believe them to be. Our thoughts are products of the mind, which is itself a tool for navigating the physical world. The mind is a remarkable instrument, but it is also limited. It operates within the confines of time, space, and form. And when we rely solely on our thinking mind, we become trapped in the stories it tells, stories of past regrets, future anxieties, self-judgment, and attachment. These thoughts lead us to believe we are separate, isolated, and bound by our circumstances, when in reality, this is far from the truth. When we follow our thoughts, we follow the past, the future, and the projections of the mind. But the truth is not found in the constant stream of thoughts. It lies within the stillness, beyond the noise of the mental chatter. It is the awareness that watches the thoughts come and go without attachment, without identification. This is the deeper, truer part of you, the part that is not bound by time, not constrained by the limitations of the mind. This awareness is your true self, and it exists beyond the thinking mind. It is the presence that is always here now beneath the surface of your thoughts and perceptions. When thoughts lead you astray, when you feel lost or overwhelmed by the constant mental noise, being leads you back to yourself. Being is not concerned with the past or the future. It exists only in the present moment, in the here and now. When you shift your focus from the endless chatter of the mind to the stillness of your being, you begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that witnesses them. Thoughts are just temporary fluctuations in the vast ocean of awareness. The mind may tell you that you are separate, that you are defined by your thoughts or your circumstances, but the truth is that you are not the thoughts you think. You are the awareness in which those thoughts arise. This awareness, this being, is what connects you to the greater whole, to the fabric of existence. It is beyond the ego, beyond the identity that the mind has created. The more you connect to this being, the more you realize that you are not separate from the world around you. You are a part of it, a reflection of the greater whole. The mind, in its attempts to define and categorize everything, creates boundaries, creates a sense of separation. But being knows no boundaries. It is expansive, limitless, and connected to all that is. When you return to being, you return to your true self, the self that is not confined by thought or belief. It is the part of you that has always been there, beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the mental constructs you have identified with. It is the essence of who you are, the eternal presence that is always here, always now. In being, there is no need to strive, to achieve, or to become anything. You are already complete, already whole. All the answers you seek, all the peace and clarity you long for, are already within you, within the stillness of your own being. As you awaken to this deeper truth, you begin to realize that life is not about following the endless stream of thoughts or chasing external desires. It is about reconnecting with the being that resides within you, the part of you that is unchanging, eternal, and one with all of existence. It is in this space of being that you find your true self, and from this place you begin to experience life in its fullness, free from the limitations of the mind, free from the illusions of separation. In our quest to understand who we really are, we often turn to the mind, the intellect, or the senses for answers. We look to the external world, to our experiences, and to the beliefs we've been taught, hoping that by analyzing the components of our lives, we will uncover the truth of our existence. But what if the truth isn't something we can grasp with the intellect or find outside of ourselves? What if the truth is something deeper, something we have always known but have simply forgotten? What if our true nature, the essence of who we are, lies beyond the reach of the mind, beyond the limits of our senses and thoughts? Most of us are conditioned to identify with the body, with our personal history, with the roles we play in life. We believe that we are the sum of our experiences, our thoughts, and our emotions. We see ourselves as separate from others, as individuals who are distinct and disconnected from the world around us. But this sense of separation is an illusion, a product of the mind's need to categorize and define. The truth of our nature is not found in the stories we tell ourselves or the labels we place upon our lives. It is found in the stillness that lies beneath the surface of thought, in the awareness that observes all of life without attachment or judgment. When we look deeper within, we begin to uncover the awareness that is always present, the consciousness that underlies all experience. This awareness is not bound by time, space, or form. It does not arise from the brain or the body. It is not a product of thought. It is the ground of all being, the space in which all experiences unfold. This awareness is who we truly are, beyond the ego, beyond the personality, beyond the thoughts and emotions that come and go. It is the part of us that is eternal, unchanging, and infinite. The mind may try to convince us that we are limited, that we are separate from the world, that our existence is defined by our thoughts and experiences. But in truth, the mind is merely a tool that can either help us navigate the world or keep us trapped in illusion. The mind, in its attempt to protect and survive, creates the illusion of separateness, defining me and you, self and other, and by doing so it creates a sense of division that doesn't truly exist. The truth is that we are not separate from the world around us. We are not separate from the people we meet, the experiences we have, or even the thoughts we think. We are all part of one undivided whole, an interconnected web of life and consciousness. Our true nature is one with the universe. And once we begin to recognize this, we realize that the distinctions we make between self and other are simply mental constructs. Our true nature is not a product of the mind's stories or the body's sensations. It is the consciousness that perceives all these things. It is the awareness that witnesses the thoughts, emotions, and experiences that arise and pass away. This awareness is not limited by the mind's perceptions. It is vast, infinite, and timeless. When we investigate our true nature, we begin to see that we are not defined by the labels we place upon ourselves. We are not our thoughts, our emotions, or our past. We are the awareness in which all of these things arise. And this awareness is not separate from the universe. It is the universe experiencing itself through us. The more we investigate our true nature, the more we come to realize that we are not bound by the physical body or the limitations of the mind. We are not defined by our past experiences, nor are we limited by the labels society has given us. Our true nature is vast and limitless, beyond the confines of the ego and the body. When we begin to awaken to this truth, we see that the boundaries between self and other dissolve. We are not separate from the world around us. We are the world. We are not individuals in isolation. We are expressions of the same universal consciousness that pervades all of existence. As we investigate our true nature, we come to understand that the sense of separation is an illusion. The mind may try to create divisions between this and that, but the truth is that all is one. All is interconnected, and the illusion of separateness is simply a mental construct. The awareness that is our true nature is not limited by the mind or the body. It is beyond form and beyond time. It is the consciousness that is always present, always aware. and always connected to everything. In this investigation, we begin to see that we are not the limited, separate beings we once thought ourselves to be. We are the infinite, undivided consciousness that pervades all of existence. We are not merely a body or a mind, we are the awareness that observes and experiences the world. The more we awaken to this truth, the more we understand that our true nature is not something we need to seek outside of ourselves. It is always present, always within, always now. It is the essence of who we are. From the moment we are born, there is a deep, inherent longing within us, a desire for happiness, peace, and fulfillment. It is a longing that transcends the circumstances of our lives and the external world. We seek happiness in all manner of things through success, relationships, material possessions, and achievements. Yet, no matter how much we accumulate or achieve, there is often an underlying sense that something is still missing. We find ourselves chasing after fleeting moments of joy only to feel that they slip away as quickly as they came. Why is this? Why do we as human beings have such an insatiable yearning for happiness that seems so difficult to satisfy? The reason lies in the very nature of our existence. At our core, we are not just physical bodies or thinking minds, but consciousness itself. This consciousness, this awareness is fundamentally whole, complete, and boundless. It is the source of everything we experience. But over time, we become conditioned to identify with the mind, the ego, and the body, and we begin to believe that happiness comes from external sources. We are taught that happiness is something to be attained, something that can be found in the pursuit of goals or the fulfillment of desires. Yet, as we continue to chase after it, we often find that true, lasting happiness remains elusive. The reason happiness often seems so elusive is that we are looking for it in the wrong places. We look to external circumstances to give us a sense of well-being, but external circumstances are always changing, always in flux. Success comes and goes, relationships change, and possessions lose their luster. In this constantly shifting world, the search for lasting happiness outside of ourselves is an endless cycle. The true source of happiness, however, is not found in the ever-changing external world, but in the unchanging awareness within us. When we stop seeking happiness in external achievements and begin to recognize the peace and joy that arise from simply being, we begin to experience a deep sense of fulfillment. Happiness is not something that needs to be achieved or acquired. It is the natural expression of our true nature. It is a state of being, a state of alignment with the present moment, free from the judgments and attachments of the mind. When we let go of our identification with the ego and the mind, we return to the spacious awareness that is our true self. This awareness is not limited by the conditions of our life. It is not bound by the body, the mind, or the ego. It is limitless and ever-present. When we tap into this awareness, we realize that happiness is already here within us at all times. It is not something we need to chase after. It is something we need to recognize and allow to arise. The longing for happiness is simply the soul's reminder that we are not here to seek fulfillment in the outside world, but to awaken to the truth of who we are, the eternal, unchanging awareness that is already whole and complete. As we begin to understand that happiness is not something that can be attained through external means, we start to recognize that it is our natural state. Our true self, beneath the layers of the mind and ego, is already joyful, already at peace. When we align with this true self, the happiness we have always sought naturally emerges. It is the peace that comes from being fully present, fully aware, and fully aligned with the present moment. In this state of awareness, the search for happiness ends because we realize that it has always been within us, waiting to be recognized. The longing for happiness then is not a desire for something we lack, but a longing to return to the truth of who we are, whole, complete, and eternally joyful. To recognize your true being, the first step is to begin questioning the very nature of who you think you are. We spend our lives identifying with our thoughts, emotions, and physical bodies, believing that these external aspects define us. However, this identity is based on layers of conditioning, societal influences, and past experiences that create a sense of separation between ourselves and the world. It is essential to realize that this constructed identity, this self you think you are, is not the truth of who you are. It is merely a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions that have accumulated over time. The mind constantly tells us that we are separate from others, that we are defined by our history, by our achievements, by our struggles. We become so attached to these narratives that we forget to look deeper beyond the thoughts and the stories that shape our perception of reality. The first step in recognizing your true being is to begin to observe your thoughts and beliefs without identification. Recognize that thoughts are not who you are. They are simply mental patterns that arise and pass away. In this awareness, you start to realize that you are not your thoughts, not the roles you play, not the judgments you make, but the awareness in which all of these things appear. As you observe your thoughts and beliefs without attachment, you begin to see the impermanence of the mind. The mind's thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are constantly in flux, shifting from one moment to the next. What you once thought of as your permanent identity, your personality, your desires, your fears is revealed as transient and fleeting. This realization is the key to letting go of the attachment to the ego and to the false sense of self. It opens the door to a deeper awareness, one that is not bound by the shifting patterns of the mind. Once you begin to detach from the identification with your thoughts, the next step is to turn inward, to become aware of the stillness that lies beneath the surface of the mind. In the quiet space beyond thought, you begin to recognize a deeper essence, an awareness that is ever present and unchanging. This awareness is the true self. It is not something you can grasp with the mind, but something that you can experience directly when you stop identifying with the egoic self and simply rest in the present moment. This awareness is always with you, beneath the noise of the mind, beneath the layers of conditioning and external distractions. It is the part of you that has always been there, untouched by time, space, or circumstance. The next step is to fully embrace the present moment. The mind is constantly pulling us into the past or projecting us into the future, but the truth of your being can only be experienced now. When you are fully present, free from the constant chatter of the mind, you begin to feel a deep sense of connection to everything around you. The boundaries that the mind has constructed between you and the other begin to dissolve, and you recognize that you are not separate from the world, you are an integral part of it. This realization is a profound shift in perception. The illusion of separateness fades, and you come to understand that you are one with the universe, a reflection of the same consciousness that pervades all life. Recognizing your true being also involves letting go of the belief that happiness or fulfillment comes from external sources. We are conditioned to think that happiness is something we must achieve or attain through material success, relationships, or experiences. However, when you begin to recognize your true self, you realize that fulfillment is not something you need to seek outside of yourself. It arises from within, from the recognition of the awareness that you are. This deep sense of fulfillment is not dependent on external circumstances. It is a natural state that arises when you connect with your true essence. As you continue on this journey of self-inquiry, you may begin to notice that the mind's pull becomes weaker. The constant need for validation, for approval, for external accomplishments begins to fade as you awaken to the truth of who you are. The awareness of your true self is already whole, already complete. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to attain. You are the presence, the consciousness that is always here, always now. The more you become rooted in this awareness, the more you begin to see that life is not about becoming something different or seeking happiness in the future. It is about recognizing who you truly are in this moment, without the need for change or improvement. The final step to recognizing your true being is to live from that awareness. As you begin to experience life from the perspective of your true self, you move through the world with greater ease, greater presence, and greater clarity. The ego-driven need for control, validation, and material success starts to dissolve, and you begin to live in alignment with the flow of life. You no longer feel separate from others or from the world around you, but a part of the interconnected whole. A sense of oneness with all that is brings a profound peace, a deep joy that arises naturally when you are fully in touch with the essence of who you are. In essence, the steps to recognize your true being are not about achieving anything or becoming someone different. They are about letting go of the false identities and mental constructs that prevent you from seeing the truth. They are about turning inward beyond thought and belief to the stillness of awareness that has always been within you. As you awaken to this truth, you realize that you have never been separate, never been alone, never been incomplete. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the infinite being that pervades all of existence. And this is the truth of who you are. The universe is an intricate, vast, and interconnected web of consciousness. To understand the universe, we must first understand that it is not a static, separate entity, but a dynamic process and unfolding of awareness, energy, and matter. The concept of the universe separating itself to know itself is deeply tied to the nature of consciousness itself. In its purest form, consciousness is undivided, formless, and infinite. It exists beyond time, space, and any sense of separation. Yet, in order to experience and know itself, it must enter into the realm of duality, where contrasts, distinctions, and perceptions can emerge. In this process of differentiation, the universe creates the illusion of separateness. It manifests as countless forms, particles, planets, galaxies, and all living beings. Each of these forms appears to be an individual entity, distinct from others, but at the deepest level, they are all expressions of the same universal consciousness. The universe, in its desire to experience itself, creates this illusion of separation, only to realize that it is still one, interconnected, and whole. Every part of the universe is a reflection of the whole, and every individual being is an expression of the same underlying consciousness. This separation, this illusion of other, is necessary for the universe to know itself. Without contrast, there would be no experience, no perception, and no opportunity for self-awareness. The individual forms, including ourselves as human beings, serve as mirrors to the whole, reflecting back the nature of existence. Through the experiences of each individual form, the universe gathers knowledge, expands its understanding, and deepens its awareness of itself. At the level of human experience, this process of separation is often felt as the duality between self and other. We perceive ourselves as distinct, separate beings limited by our physical bodies, our minds, and our individual consciousness. However, when we begin to look beyond the mind's identification with form and the stories we tell ourselves, we begin to see that this separation is merely an illusion. The mind creates boundaries, defines distinctions, and builds identities, but at the deepest level, all boundaries dissolve and the true nature of existence is revealed to be unified. By experiencing the contrast between self and other, form and formless, the universe is able to gain insight into its true nature. In this way, the universe, through each of us, explores its own essence. We are not separate from the universe. We are the universe experiencing itself through individual forms through the lens of consciousness. Each experience, each thought, each perception is an opportunity for the universe to know itself more deeply, to witness its own unfolding. As we awaken to this truth, we realize that we are not isolated beings in a vast, indifferent universe. We are expressions of the same consciousness that pervades all of existence. And indivisible, ever seeking to know itself through the multiplicity of form. Love and happiness are often seen as external goals, things to be obtained or attained through actions, relationships, or experiences. But these are not simply emotions or fleeting states that depend on circumstances. At their deepest level, love and happiness are expressions of our true nature, emerging from the essence of who we are beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the ego. They are not something we must chase after or acquire. They are the natural states of being when we align with our true self, when we recognize that we are not separate from the universe or from each other. Meditation is a powerful tool for awakening to the true self, and it takes many forms, each suited to different paths of personal exploration. The first type is mindfulness meditation, which focuses on cultivating awareness of the present moment. In this practice, we bring our attention to the sensations of the body, the breath, and the surrounding environment, observing without judgment or attachment. Mindfulness meditation teaches us to step outside the constant flow of mental chatter and connect with the world as it is, free from the filters of past experiences or future anxieties. By focusing on the present moment, we begin to understand that the mind is not who we truly are. Rather, we are the awareness behind the mind, observing its fluctuations. Another type of meditation is loving kindness or compassion meditation, which focuses on generating feelings of love, compassion, and goodwill towards oneself and others. In this practice, we send positive intentions to ourselves, to loved ones, and even to those we may have conflict with, allowing our hearts to open and soften. This meditation helps us recognize that at our core, we are beings of love and connection. When we practice compassion, we shift our focus from egoic separateness to the recognition of our interconnectedness. It also reminds us that love is not something to be earned or sought externally. It is the natural state of being that arises when we transcend the boundaries of the self. A third form of meditation is transcendental meditation, which uses a mantra or sound as a focal point to quiet the mind and transcend ordinary thought. By repeating a specific sound or phrase, the mind is gently drawn into a state of deep stillness and peace, where the individual experiences a sense of unity with the universe. In transcendental meditation, the emphasis is on moving beyond the ego and entering a state of pure awareness. And when we begin to see through the illusions of the ego, we come to a profound understanding about the nature of suffering and the meaning of life. Suffering in this context is not something that happens to us externally. It arises from the way we perceive and react to life. The ego thrives on creating attachments to outcomes, to identities, to experiences, and when these attachments are challenged or threatened, suffering arises. When we let go of these attachments and align with our true nature, which is beyond the ego, suffering begins to dissolve. Life, in its essence, is not about seeking pleasure or avoiding pain. It is about realizing that we are not the doers, but the experiencers of life. The meaning of life is not found in external accomplishments or the pursuit of material success, but in the realization of our true self beyond the mind and ego. Once we awaken to this deeper truth, we understand that life is a process of unfolding, a continuous experience of self-awareness, where suffering becomes a doorway to deeper wisdom and understanding. When we contemplate what happens to our identity when we die, we are faced with the ultimate question of who we truly are. The physical body is impermanent, and the mind, with all its thoughts and identities, is equally transient. But the consciousness that animates the body, the awareness that observes the mind, is not subject to birth or death. It is eternal. Our identity is not bound to the body or the mind. It is the pure awareness that witnesses all things. When the body dies, the mind ceases its activity, but the essence of who we are, the awareness, the consciousness, remains. This understanding transforms our relationship with life and death. We no longer view death as an end, but as a transition, a natural part of the cycle of existence. Just as the wave is not separate from the ocean, we are not separate from the greater consciousness that permeates all of life. Our true self is not defined by the limited identity of the body or the mind, but by the infinite, boundless awareness that is always present. Ultimately, meditation, the dissolution of the spiritual ego, and the recognition of the impermanent nature of the self all point to the same truth. We are not the body, the mind, or the ego. We are the awareness that witnesses it all. When we awaken to this truth, we come to realize that life is not a journey towards some future goal or destination. It is an unfolding process of remembering who we truly are, awareness itself. Through meditation and the shedding of the layers of the ego, we come closer to recognizing that we are not separate individuals navigating a world of duality. We are the consciousness that pervades all of existence. The meaning of life is not found in seeking, but in realizing that we are already whole, already complete. Our thoughts shape our experience of the world, but they are not the essence of who we are. The mind constantly generates thoughts, often chaotic and influenced by external circumstances, conditioning, and past experiences. These thoughts are fleeting and ever-changing, and they create a sense of separation between ourselves and the world around us. However, the true nature of who we are is not defined by the content of our thoughts. Thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky of our consciousness, transient and impermanent. Our identification with these thoughts, however, is what causes us to lose touch with our true nature. When we identify with the constant stream of thoughts, we begin to believe that we are our thoughts. We become attached to labels, judgments, and narratives that our mind creates, and in doing so, we reinforce the illusion of a separate self. This belief in the self as the mind can lead to stress, anxiety, and suffering, because the mind is always in a state of fluctuation, reacting to the world and its circumstances. But when we step back and observe our thoughts without attachment, we realize that we are not the mind, we are the awareness that observes the mind. This awareness is still, unchanging, and expansive. It is the ground of being, the source from which thoughts arise, and the space in which they dissolve. By reconnecting with this awareness, we can experience peace, clarity, and freedom from the fluctuations of the mind. Spirituality, in its essence, is simple. It is not about following complicated rituals, adhering to complex doctrines, or seeking external validation. At its core, spirituality is the recognition that we are more than the body, more than mind, more than the ego. It is the realization that we are the awareness behind all phenomena, the unchanging presence that witnesses the dance of life. This recognition is not something to be attained in the future or found in distant spiritual practices. It is available to us in every moment. The simplicity of spirituality lies in the understanding that we do not need to seek enlightenment, because the true nature of who we are is already within us. All we need to do is let go of the layers of conditioning and mental identification that obscure our true self. Spirituality is not about becoming something we are not, but about unbecoming everything we are not. It is about peeling away the false identities, the beliefs, and the attachments that mask our true nature. When we do this, we experience the profound truth that we are already whole, already complete, and that we are one with all of existence. Spirituality, then, is not an intellectual pursuit or a quest for special experiences. It is a return to the simplicity of being. It is the recognition that we are not separate from the world around us, but an integral part of it. In this simplicity, we find freedom, peace, and a deep sense of connection to all of life. In understanding the nature of our thoughts and embracing the simplicity of spirituality, we begin to see that life is not about striving, achieving, or becoming something different. It is about remembering who we truly are beyond the thoughts, beyond the body, beyond the ego. The essence of spirituality is the awareness that all beings are interconnected, that we are part of a vast, unified consciousness that transcends all division. When we let go of the illusion of separation, we open ourselves to a deeper, more profound experience of life. The nature of existence is simple. We are awareness, we are love, and we are one with all that is. It is in this recognition that the true peace and happiness we seek arise not from external conditions, but from the deep knowing of who we truly are.